or rule makers.
And that, Abha, takes us neatly to our next conversation.
Our next speaker is no stranger to reinvention or to leadership.
In this session, titled Empowering Half the Nation, Women, Work and India's Growth Story, we are going to hear from a woman who's broken molds and built milestones, from ruling television screens to holding high-profile cabinet portfolios in the Indian government.
One of the youngest women to serve as cabinet minister, she has led key ministries like information and broadcasting, education, textiles, and women and child development, bringing clarity of thought, strength of purpose, and directness of voice that have become her signature.
Her work through the years has consistently focused on expanding opportunity and equity and unlocking the potential of women's participation in India's growth story.
Here in conversation with senior editor of the Economic Times, Nidhi Sharma, please join us in welcoming on stage former Cabinet Minister, the Honourable Smriti Irani.
Welcome. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So, what are we doing here for women empowerment?
I think the nomenclature women's empowerment has been used of late a bit tardily, because for too long women have been told that they should be grateful enough to have a seat at the table. Today, if you have to reimagine power, you need to back it with funds, with freedom and capacities to scale. I'm extremely proud that today on this platform I get an opportunity to collaborate with well-meaning institutions who want to engage with women from that economic perspective. If you look at the landscape of women in India today, between the ages of 16 to 60, what we call the working age, we have 450 million women, which is 450 million ideas, opportunities, capacities, which needs to be leveraged. And if you're talking about emboldening our economic prospects, then the nation's economy cannot reach its full potential if half of its population is reduced to the sidelines. So what we hope to unleash today through this platform is an initiative called Spark, to ignite a few ideas, to support a few more, and possibly to take that pipeline of women-owned businesses that we have in our country to the next level of economic engagement.
Do you find them receptive to this kind of scaling up?
The session before ours was on AI and disruption. If you look at data which has come forth from women-owned businesses in our country, 58% of them have shown an inclination to adapt AI into their businesses. But they do not know what is the business service that can be provided through technology. If you look at the landscape of business opportunity for women in India today, they own close to 16 million MSMEs in our country, employ about 2.8 crore people in our country. But if you look at the numbers in the informal segment, in the informal MSME segment, 70% of those businesses are owned by women. Now, these are the businesses that recognize that technology will be a disruptor, but more so they understand that technology will also be a great enabler. So if we are hoping to leverage the economic prowess of India, should we not leverage this technological moment in our history to say how can more and more women-owned businesses get included in it?
Correct me if I'm wrong here. We are very adept at handling our mobile phones. The government gives all the benefits through direct benefit transfers. So we are fine with, when I say we, all of us, we are fine with our mobile phones. But when you scale up like you want to, how receptive are they to technology, and how is it a challenge to train them?
Well, of the 450 million women that I spoke of, today if you look at plain numbers, 83% of women work in the field of agriculture. And if you look at agriculture, close to 2 million establishments in the agriculture sectors, which we may call enterprises, are owned by women. The problem is that if you look at reports from the World Bank or even the Economic Survey of India, of those businesses, 70% are self-financed, which means that if women get opportunities to credit, if they understand balance sheets, even in that segment, you will see exponential growth. Secondly, I think the main fulcrum of your question is there an inclination to learn, to adopt, to adapt?
Exactly.
Most definitely, because women have recognized the economic and social benefits of enterprise. One has to also consider the fact that each female-led startup is actually an act of courage. Because world over now, you have research after research which has showcased that VC funding is abysmal when it comes to women startups or women-based businesses or owned businesses. But what is the catalyst to increasing the participation of women in the formal sector? One of those catalysts will be women-owned businesses. Research shows that of all the businesses that are owned in our country particularly, in women-owned businesses, the ones who are hired, 43% of them are women, as compared to male-owned businesses, which hire only 25% women. So when you try and expound a prospect for women-owned businesses, you will have a multitude of effects. There has been research which has shown that when women engage in an economic activity and their economic capacity increases, they tend to invest more in education and health. So for me, the imperative economically when it comes to women-owned businesses is such that it is no longer charity, it is no longer mere policy, it is actually national economic strategy.
So you begin with training them?
We have partnered with the British Council because women have the ambition to be a part of global supply chains, understand compliances, new markets, understand where the mix is in terms of new consumer interest, or for that matter, where there can be an amalgam of business interests internationally. They need to recognize the language of business or the language in which most businesses conduct themselves internationally. Last year, if you look at the numbers from exports in India, 8% of those exports were done by women-owned businesses. So can we help this whole pipeline of women-owned small businesses become, let's say, the next gateway to exporting products of a variety of substances out of India? We are partnering with the ICAI. They have been kind enough. ICAI and ICSI, the Chartered Accountants Institute and the Company Secretary Institute, which will be kind enough to go across 300 cities in our country, engage with women-owned businesses so that they can teach them compliance, they can teach them not only the value of having fiscal discipline, balance sheets, and how to leverage that balance sheet to enhance credit capacities within their organizations, how to enhance productivity, and also how to reorganize their businesses given not only rules that they need to comply with within the given state or nationally, but also what may be the international benchmarks that they need to meet as businesses. So it is an effort which is a Jan Andolan, as the Prime Minister says, that if we are to leverage the ambition of being not only the third largest economy of the world or the second largest or the topmost economy of the world, can we do that by sidelining the business needs of women in our country?
So economic independence and versus political representation. What do you think is really the key word for women's empowerment?
I think there are too many issues which are put in one basket when it comes to women. It is always an issue of either or nothing at all. And my belief is that the political dispensation today in the country is such that no political organization can afford to ignore either the rights of women, the needs of women, or the ambitions of women. That being said, the economic, I think, framework that we are hoping to address or we are hoping to contribute to, in fact, one of the partners in the network which we are hoping to create across India is also the Times of India. I will draw your attention to the fact that the Times of India 2.5 decades ago started the process of Teach India, where the ambition was, can we take the word of literacy, the need and the necessity of ensuring that each and every Indian, and especially adults, are literate in our country? Can we take that ambition to every nook and corner of the country? And that was done admirably so. Today, especially on the platform of Economic Times, there is an understanding that apart from espousing a cause digitally, apart from espousing a cause through a newspaper article or an editorial, can we partner on this on-ground activation of the prospects of women? So I think both are distinct needs, because women politicians will not serve only the cause of women. They will serve the cause of the constituency. It's a different ambition. But women in business end up becoming a great opportunity for economic growth, not only domestically, but also if they meet international standards of productivity and manufacturing, then they can be the growth engine for the Indian economy.
Do you think men here in the families play a role when it comes to empowering women economically?
I don't know why there has to be a dependency on the man in the family for a woman to be financially empowered. Why burden them with that burden when we have today the prospects, the tools of engagement, and democratically so? I think what happened in 2014 when Jan Dhan Yojana was announced was the first step towards this recognition that the basic foundational economic need for a woman to be emboldened financially is to have a bank account. The fact that in 1.5 years in our country, 250 million women could open their bank account, that showed also a societal acceptance of that fundamental economic, I think, ability or need that women have in our country. More so, I think, what is a great cause for celebration for us is the success of Mudra, which was not a gendered financial instrument. In fact, it was an instrument only to help those Indians who did not have collateral to pay if they had a business idea. The fact that 300 million loans were not only taken by women-owned businesses, but also the NPA is less than male-owned businesses, that is a cause for me for celebration. Let me give you a small example of even the Swanidhi scheme, which again is not a gendered scheme. It is a scheme where the government ensures that credit is provided to street vendors. And of the 6 lakh women who have received that scheme or the credit support from the government, there are 1 lakh women street vendors in our country who have taken the credit thrice over and without default paid back each and every bank. Today, India becomes the only country in the world which can, through data, tell the world, evidence to the world, that our banks have found, an SBI study has found, that of all the revenue that is earned by banks from savings accounts in our country, women-owned accounts help banks make 12% more revenue than male-owned bank accounts. Now, those numbers speak evidence, those numbers speak to ambition, those numbers also speak to opportunities that are yet to be unleashed.
You have been Women and Child Development Minister. What do you think is the biggest challenge for women who want to be economically independent as you are helping them?
I think one of the finest contributions of Prime Minister Modi to the issue of gender was to mainstream gender as a political constituency. When he was Chief Minister in Gujarat, he started a project called Mission Mangalam, which was primarily focused on financing the needs of self-help groups in our country, in the state of Gujarat. He took that template and made it national when he took the office of Prime Minister. Today, 10 crore women through self-help groups are at the grassroots engaged in economic opportunity. There has been research which validates that the economic engagement only through those self-help groups is close to $37 billion worth of economic engagement at the grassroots. So I believe that while the Prime Minister has made women a great political constituency. What he has also done through his governance model is not to relegate the issue of women only to one department, namely the Women and Child Development Department. He has a whole of government approach. So Jandhan, Mudra, Swanidhi was done in collaboration between the Finance Ministry, Urban Development Ministry, Ministry of Rural Development. Even the issue of, let's say, portion, which is nutrition, he has looked at the Ministry of Women and Child Development, which is an amalgam of 18 ministries just to look after 100 million beneficiaries in our country, of which 75 million are children under the age of 6 and 25 million are pregnant and lactating mothers. So I think that the whole of government approach when it comes to the issue of gender is a great contribution that we've seen in the past decade. We need to strongly build on that foundation.
You spoke about self-help groups, right?
Yes.
So this is very working at the grassroots. That's exactly what I asked right in the beginning. How is scaling up essential for women? You know, when we talk about women-owned businesses, we only see
They are
them
not
at the...
defined as women-owned businesses.
Yeah, they are not defined.
And
but
in fact, the economic engagement or their participation in terms of their contribution as productive citizens of our country's economy is also not a factor that is reflected in the labor survey. So these are women who create economic opportunity. These are women who have shown fiscal discipline, but they don't get counted. So you're talking about women who don't count it vis-a-vis women who do get counted because they have created an MSME.
So scaling up for them is essential, right? And that's...
Yes, and I think that for them to scale up, it depends on the sector in which they are engaged in. For instance, if they are engaged in the food-based or agro-based sector and they're looking at post-harvest activity, how much of their need is to understand, let's say, the benchmarks of compliance set by FSSAI? How much does that benchmark help them market their wares, not only to a larger domestic audience, but also to an international need, which can be met through, let's say, a women's FPO or a small MSME, which is agro-based. So our effort is across these 300 cities to reach out to, per city, around 350 to 400 women-owned businesses and look at their varied needs and then customize it to that need.
Personal question. How did you embark on this project?
In my 10 years as minister, I think what is also essential for me here to flag is I've served 2 terms as the Member of Parliament from Gujarat when Prime Minister Modi was Chief Minister in the state. I think the basic foundation of his leadership's engagement with women...
I don't think many people know that you were a Rajya Sabha member too.
Well, I'm a 3-time Member
Yes.
of Parliament, so...
Not many people know that you have been a Rajya Sabha member and
Well,
then you contested that famous election.
Well, I
and then-
contested my first election when I was 27 from Delhi in the year 2004.
Can you also tell, you'll have to tell people about your multitasking and how you were shooting for the...
Well, I have been very, very lucky that I have not only had a 2.5 decade in career in media, but also politics simultaneously, that I've been at the top of my game for 2.5 decades. And irrespective of the 2 fields that I've been in, I think the need that I have seen consistently, which does not change with the passage of time, is that what you need to do for women is not pontificate. It is to actually help them discover their own potential, or for that matter, leverage their potential financially. The rest of their needs takes care of itself. One of the greatest needs, and especially those who are in the field of working for women, they have recognized that even if you want to counter violence against women, especially domestic violence, given that the numbers are huge when it comes to personal violence that women have to undergo, irrespective of the paychecks that they take home, is that any woman who owns a capital asset is then less positioned to violence in her own domestic circumstances if she has a capital asset. Today, when I look at Prime Minister Modi's, I think, 10-year journey, I've seen that under the Awas Yojana, he has managed to build across of all the homes, 75% homes for women. The ownership rests with women. So when a government, or for that matter societally so, when we engage on issues of creating capital assets for women, when we engage on issues on enhancing the economic capacity of women, we are not only creating an economic process, we are actually engaging in a part of social transformation.
And you became financially independent fairly early.
17 years old, yes, I'm 49 today.
And how was that journey?
Well, it has been an interesting one because my first job got me $200 on the streets of New Delhi, selling something on the streets of Delhi. And
Sold perfumes, I remember.
I sold
beauty
lovely
products.
little beauty products. But from that $200 to becoming the highest paid media persona in television, it's been a long journey.
Wow. And somebody I remember you told me that somebody was really impressed when you were selling
Well, at 17, I was told that I'll make for a great salesperson because I know how to speak. They did not know that they would unleash somebody in Indian politics and in the Indian Parliament. But I think that what has been, for me, as far as my reflection, what has been extremely important is if I, who came from nothing, can take the unknown or from a position of historical perspectives, take some very, very difficult political paths. That was only possible because I was financially very secure. I taught myself negotiations on contracts very early, recognizing that you have to create your own professional worth by continuing to learn, enhancing your personal capacities, even on issues of technology. Even when I was serving as a cabinet minister, I took out time to engage, let's say, with academia at the Berkeley Haas School to learn fintech, though it was not a part of my portfolio. I engaged on executive education processes with the Judge Business School on business ethics. It was not a part of my portfolio work, or it was not a political need for me. So I think that there has to be a conversation more so about how we need to upscale ourselves as professionals individually, no matter which part of the ladder of success we are at. And I'm hoping to drive this message at the grassroots, especially with women, like I said, who have the courage to start a business, who have the discipline to sustain that business. They just need one intervention from professionals in our country to then grow at scale and with speed.
It's been a pleasure, Smriti ji, to have you, and all the best for this venture.
And my gratitude to the Times of India Group for being a part of this Jan Andolan. Thank you.